folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Weekly Movie News Podcast. This week's news brought to you by a quieter week of news, actually. But let's start with Netflix, since there isn't much else to talk about. Director James Cameron has now come out publicly and wrote a letter to Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who chairs the Antitrust Subcommittee. He is very much against Netflix winning the bid for Warner Bros. Cameron said in his letter, quote, "The business model of Netflix is directly at odds with the theatrical film production and exhibition business, which employs hundreds of thousands of Americans. It is therefore directly at odds with the business model of the Warner Bros. Movie division, one of the few remaining major movie studios. The U.S. may no longer lead in auto or steel manufacturing, but it is still the world leader in movies. That will change for the worse. I believe strongly that the proposed sale of Warner Bros. Discovery to Netflix will be disastrous for the theatrical motion picture business that I have dedicated my life's work to. Of course, my films all play in the downstream video markets as well, but my first love is the cinema." End quote. Ted Sarandos of Netflix then shot back, saying Cameron is part of the Paramount disinformation campaign, and so on and so forth. President Trump hasn't sided with any party yet. He is warm with the Ellisons over at Paramount, but also has become closer with Sarandos over the past couple years as well. He did post this week that Netflix has to fire Susan Rice off its board or face the consequences, but Sarandos kind of waved that off in a nonchalant way. So anyway, much of the same. Warner has given Paramount a small window to revise and boost its latest offer, so we're waiting to see what that looks like. And now, let's just run down some quick stories here. It looks like Mads Mikkelsen is joining Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence in Marty Scorsese's What Happens at Night, so that starts shooting this week, I believe. Viola Davis has picked up and will be taking on an adaptation of the Afro-fantasy graphic novel, The Untamed. So Sebastian A. Jones, who runs the franchise with his Stranger Comics, will write the script and direct the movie. Netflix is moving forward with a BioShock movie based on the extremely popular video game. The director on the project is now Francis Lawrence, who directed last year's The Long Walk and many of the Hunger Games movies. They hope production starts next year for a 2028 release. Director Wes Anderson is setting up his next film. He's planning on shooting the film late this year. The script is co-written by Anderson, Roman Coppola, and Richard Ayoade. No title or cast announcements yet. And then Jurassic World Rebirth, or should I say Jurassic World Liberation, seems to be the title of the next film in the franchise. This is acting as the 8th movie in the franchise, but really the 5th Jurassic World film, and then it's the 2nd in this latest trilogy after Rebirth. The release is still set for June 9th, 2028, with all the main people returning, including the director Gareth Edwards and Scarlett Johansson. So Jurassic World Liberation, here we go again. And now for the second week in a row, Mr. Tom Hanks is in the news. So he will be starring in a movie called Lincoln in the Bardo. And yes, Tom Hanks will be playing Abraham Lincoln. The film is going to be directed by Duke Johnson, and the film is actually going to be a live-action / stop-motion hybrid film. It's based off a New York Times bestseller book from 2017, and Duke Johnson, the director, has also worked on Anomalisa, which we covered before on the podcast. He made that film alongside Charlie Kaufman, and then he also worked on last year's The Actor. So we'll see what Johnson can give us, and we'll see what Hanks can do in the role of Abraham Lincoln. And yeah, that's basically it. You know, the BAFTAs did take place this past weekend, and essentially one battle after another swept the major awards. So is it a precursor? Is it not? The BAFTAs are always kind of its own weird little thing. But with that, let's go ahead and jump over to the box office for this past weekend. So 5th biggest this weekend was Send Help with $4.5 million. 4th was Crime 101, making $5.8 million. 3rd for the weekend was I Can Only Imagine 2, and that made $8 million. 2nd was Wuthering Heights with $14.2 million, and the biggest film this weekend was last week's number 2, the movie called Goat, the animated kids film, making $17 million. Oh, and Wuthering Heights, by the way, is at $152 million globally. Coming up this Thursday, Vincent Daly will be watching, rating, and reviewing. We have 3 in-theater movies here for you folks, so we have Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, directed by Gore Verbinski. Then How to Make a Killing with Glenn Powell and Margaret Qualley. That's directed by John Patton Ford. And finally, we are covering Crime 101. That's starring Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and directed by Bart Layton. But that's it for your weekly movie news here, folks. We'll leave you today with a quote from an actor, Mads Mikkelsen. I make an awesome soup with coconut milk and shrimps. It takes me 5 hours to prepare the whole thing, and it does become very spicy, but you can definitely taste all the ingredients. And all right, folks, the Daily Ratings weekly movie news podcast, that was it. See you on Thursday.